Hello, John.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I just don't know what to call you. So, Mayor
John's
John,
fine.
John's fine.
Yep.
Well, welcome to my home, and thank you for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it. I'm not adept at this, so I might be a little clumsy, so forgive me.
That's okay, me too. We're not, we don't do this very often, do we, in life?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's for sure. I am delighted that we have this opportunity because I have questions for you.
Well, great.
I'm not, I'm not one that's ever been involved in local politics before, just mostly, you know, like, I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was a Democratic precinct captain there.
Sure.
And I'm a Democrat for John Cannon. But I wanted people to know that I am supporting you. And, but I think there's questions that need to be answered.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate you having me here in your wonderful home. We would have done this a little bit earlier this week, but we had some, some rainstorms and about 4 inches of rain, and we've been having some late nights in the evenings trying to get some things taken care of in the city with the water and the flooding. So I appreciate you having us, and this will be fun.
You mean you don't work 9 to 5?
Oh no, I don't think 9 to 5 is in the job description. Being a full-time mayor means you're on call at all times.
Speaking of being mayor, when you were inaugurated on March 2nd, I think is that the right word?
That's correct.
Oh, cool. You said that you've wanted and you've prepared all your life, adult life, to become mayor. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have we still do it today, and we did it in 1985. I was elected mayor for a day at Student Government Day at Portage High School.
So you know how to run a campaign.
Well, we won that one. I was also junior and senior class president then. So, we were brought into the mayor's office, and it was Bob Goen, our Mayor Bob Goen, and he pretty much inspired all of us to get involved in public service. So when I went home that night, I thought, I'd like to be mayor one day. So, I kind of.
So the seed was planted.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of directed my life kind of to be in a leadership role, to learn how to run a city and how to run and lead people to do things, and to lead people with your vision. And so here I am.
Cool.
And we're having fun.
Now, you have some background in leadership positions.
Sure.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. When I was in Muncie going to Ball State, my boss came to me and he said, "We'd like you to run a store for us." And I was working for Western Auto Supply Company back then, and we had a shop that we would do oil changes and things, and on the weekend that's what I did. And then they kind of, apparently he must have saw some leadership skills or some abilities there, and he said, "We'd like to have you run a store. Are you into that?" I said, "Absolutely. I need some money for college bills." And I just kept doing it, and they kept, Western Auto, my bosses kept sending me around and fixing stores and fixing things. And then later on, Advance Auto Parts purchased us, and I became a district manager a few years later, and had 13 years in that job. Opened 19, or had 19 stores, opened 8 in 3 years, and hired the folks and found locations and did everything from the time we found the real estate all the way to the grand opening. And what's really stands side by side is the budget of the city and the budget of my 19 stores is almost the same. And,
So our budget in Portage is the same as the budget you used to handle?
Yeah, 19 stores, it was about 40 million, and this is that's what the city is. And we have just over 200 employees in the city, and we had about 215, 230 back and forth at Advance when I was a district manager. So, kind of prepared me, and it has prepared me for a leadership role and managing budgets and managing the day-to-day operations. But the real thing is the leadership what I bring to the campaign is experience, passion, and leadership, and you encompass all that in with integrity, And I think that sets me aside from anyone else's that wants to be mayor right now.
Well, speaking about the budget, on one of your videos, your Sunday, which are amazing, by the way,
Yep.
and I've never known anybody else to do that, to have these weekly
Yeah.
chats
Yep.
that you have with your,
Sure.
and
We call
explaining
it straight talk.
straight talk.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. And I think that's a good idea to let people know what you're doing, what you're
Right.
up to,
Right.
how your week has gone, and
Sure.
your visions
Yeah.
too.
That's correct.
But the budget, you said something about that you're going to, it's going to come out early, and you're going to have meetings.
Yes.
And that hasn't been done here in Portage.
Not that I'm aware of. We're going to get it to, so this is how the budget process works, just a little bit to explain, a little background. The mayor statutorily is required to submit the budget to the city council. And there's no time frame, it just needs to be done before the end of the year. So I'm bringing all the department heads in with our financial advisor, and we're going to sit down one-on-one, well, two-on-one, there'll be three of us, and go through the budget, what we can afford, what the department needs, and then I have to make a tough decision kind of in between there, how's it all fall together. And then we'll submit that entire budget from all the departments to the city council budget committee, the chairman of the budget committee. And my goal is to get that to the budget committee to look at by mid-June.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah, coming fast. I mean, we're 45 days away or something. And then I'm going to ask the budget chairman to have these meetings, these budget committee meetings, in the public. The public should know where their dollars are spent, and open it up to the public and advertise it and let them know so they can come in and make comments or ask questions.
Can they make some decisions if they make, I mean,
Well, there are certain things we have to do in the budget statutorily. State requires us to do it, but there's also some things that we can move around that are not required. And that's kind of the input that we're looking for. And then I want that budget to be to the city council by July. And then we'll see if we can get it passed by at the latest September or October. In the past, we've chased Santa Claus. This time we're gonna chase Halloween. So
Good
we're gonna
idea.
we're gonna be done long before the end of the year. So
when you're talking about opening it up to meetings and having it out early, I just keep thinking about the previous mayor who betrayed our trust. And that must have presented some challenges to you. And is that the transparency with the budget? Is that one of the things you're trying to?
yes, one of the things I think that the public might think out there is that the city government is all done behind closed doors, and we close the door and we light the cigars and we're kind of sitting back in the back and we're just conniving to get something accomplished. And that's not the way I want it. I don't think that's the way it is. It's not someone's intent to do that, but it kind of looks that way, and because of what has kind of gone on with the last couple of years in the city, and transparency and openness and honesty, as we say, straight talk, is very important. Going forward, when I'm retained as mayor, that process will continue throughout the 4 years that I'm mayor. And our weekly videos will continue. If some new technology comes in between now and 4 years from now, we'll use that to reach out to folks. Yeah. And I think that's important that we're open and we're candid. And there's some things, we've made mistakes. There's things that the city has done. Maybe we didn't see the consequences of it, and that's okay. We're all humans, but at the same time, if we had some transparency, and people would have more trust. Joyce, one of the reasons why I think people don't vote, and the reason they're not, that enthused about local politics. We get about 20% turnout. In a presidential year, we get above 40 sometimes. The reason is because people just think, what's the difference? How's this going to change my life? And these are some of the things that I think will get people involved and get people thinking, yeah, some of this stuff does change my life. You know, when I wake up in the morning and I go to work, I expect to have clean, safe streets. I expect to have my garbage picked up. And when I call the police officer if need be, he comes to the door and helps us.
Well, that's also one of the things that I've heard you say on your weekly.
Yeah.
It's about your intent on safety.
Yeah.
And that's important for you. I want to go back to the other that I was trying to lead to, is that you're running unopposed as a Republican. There are 4 Democrats that are vying for the position of mayor. What is it about you that stands you apart from these Democratic candidates?
I am mayor, and the day-to-day operations of the mayor's office is something that you wouldn't understand until you are mayor. I don't believe that others might have the experience and the passion and the leadership abilities that I have that can talk to people about your vision, lead the staff and the department heads and our wonderful employees, lead them into the next phase. And being retained as our mayor and for 2020 is just going to be a whole different outlook and a different view than some of my opponents.
We'll talk about your outlook, because I've heard you say
Sure.
the government should...
Well, the government should work for the residents and not the residents work for the government. And I think that kind of tells the whole story on what the differences are between myself and my potential opponents on the other side. They believe that government needs to be involved in everything. I believe that the people are entrusted.
Can you give us some examples about that?
Yeah, I'll give you one of the greatest. I'll give you 2 examples. The best example is the Martinez family came to the city and they lost a daughter to an illness, and she had special needs before she passed. And her name was Hannah, and they came to us and myself and some others and said, we'd like to put an all-inclusive park for special needs children. We're asking the question, what does that all mean? We weren't very familiar with that, and it was that any child of any ability or any problem or what could use a park and use the equipment. So I remember us saying, dream big, come to us with this park, and we'll certainly work with you to get this done. So government facilitates things and brings people together, and then we in this particular case we let Hannah's Hope organization run with their idea and their dream and their vision, honoring a special little girl. So what we did is we brought the Redevelopment Commission in. They own some property. We bought Indiana American Water. They own some property. It was next to our splash pad, right near our amphitheater. We said this is a perfect place for the park. Indiana American Water donated the land. The city put the surface, and volunteers and the organization of Hannah's Hope put the park together. It took them, I think, 5 days to put all the equipment out there. It was all with volunteers.
And it's certainly colorful enough.
Yeah. Well, that was their vision. That was their idea. And we have some enhancements to do there. And and then another on the other extreme, 10, 12 years ago, there was a plan from the federal government to give some federal money to the state, and the state would run that money back to NERC, which is Northern Indiana's regional planning group, and it was a section of road on Willow Creek between Central and the Toll Road Bridge. We've been talking about that for 12 years. All that Portage needed to do in that was to come up with a plan and design it. We paid a lot of money. One of the bills came in on the next design right when I became mayor, and I said, we have to stop designing this thing. We've been doing it for 10 to 12 years. Let's just get it done. The example of the government just kind of, the federal government, the state government kind of just hangs over a project like that and it just bogs us down and costs us local money, our taxpayers' money to do this stuff. And I just pulled the trigger and said, let's just get this design out to bid, and next spring we're going to finally have that project done. So.
Now, okay, so this is your vision of how to get things done and moving it forward. However, if you're not elected mayor, is that going to fall flat then?
No, no, it's a done deal. You know, I don't want to be mayor, or I'm not mayor because of politics. I want to be mayor, and I am mayor because I love Portage, and I believe I have something to offer. And what I have to offer is the passion and the love for the city, and the leadership ability to bring people together, just like we did with Hannah's Hope, and the experience of life and experience as mayor now, and experience in the leadership role to do all that, and to stick with it. And maybe sometimes it's a tough decision to make, but it's a decision that has to be made. And government shouldn't be out there making the people pay extra. They should actually be serving the people. So that's what the difference, I think, is. And I'm not here for politics. I'm here for the, it's kind of cliche to say I'm here for the people, but I'm here for the love of Portage. I have a passion for Portage.
I wanted to talk about that because when I tell people I'm from Portage, it's like, and somebody else is sitting across the table from me and they're from Valparaiso. It's like they're one up to me.
Yeah.
And Portage, I don't know. It's just it's different. It doesn't have like you said earlier in one of your videos, it's only 50 years old.
Yeah.
And Valpo's 100, but
yeah.
It doesn't seem to have the same punch.
Yeah.
Can you talk? I mean, Portage Pride.
Yeah.
I think that's important to me anyway.
Well, I teased Mayor John Costas in Valparaiso. I said, "How are things in the suburbs?" Because I believe Valparaiso is a suburb of Portage. We're the biggest city in the county. We have blue collar workers that work hard. They're affected more by manufacturing than some other communities. When the economy goes one way or the other, and they're resilient. Our people are just resilient. They get out there and they just work hard every day. And that's what Portage Pride is. Also, they volunteer more than people don't go out and volunteer and want to be recognized. They volunteer because they need something done. So a lot of folks don't know if they recognize or not. I'm sorry, if they volunteer. Portage Pride is just the love of the city and the passion that we have for.
Well, you were brought up here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I told some people at a prayer breakfast this week that I was brought home from the county hospital in Valparaiso to Portage in a house my grandfather built. I lived there until I left at 18, and then I moved right back to my neighborhood when I bought my home. I played in the backyard of the house that I live in now. So that's what I think. That's what Portage Pride is. We have to have jobs, and we have to have reasons for people to come back to Portage when they go off to college or go off to the military. We want to come back to Portage because they have that same resilience and that same hard work that the rest of us do in Portage. So when people pick at you a little bit about being from Portage, you just let them know that how are the things in the suburbs of Portage, and tease them a little bit. We've got some great stuff up here. One thing that no one else has is Lake Michigan.
We sure do.
We're at the tip of Lake Michigan, the southern tip, and I want us to be the beacon and the magnet on the southern tip of Lake Michigan, where people come here and they raise their families in safe schools, great infrastructure, a welcoming community, a diverse community, and that's my vision. That's what we're out here working for.
One of my interests is, and I've talked to other people about this, they're saying that Portage is running in the red. And they want to know, because I was talking about you to somebody and they say, well, all well and good if he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
What I'm worried about, is he going to get us out of debt? How is he going to do that? And I want him to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, there's a rumor out there, or a statement out there by some of the people on the other side we don't do negativity. We do the facts. We don't run the city off of emotions. We run the city off facts. And we have money. Every city in the state of Indiana is allowed to borrow money to get projects done that need to be done now for the long term, and that's through the bonding process. And we have bonds out there at a good interest rate because our bond rating is A. We have
an A rating?
Yeah, we have an A credit
We're
rating.
higher than Chicago.
Well, that's understandable. That's what we do. So when people say we're in the red, every community is in the red. Everyone that has a mortgage on their home is in the red. Everyone that has a car, that they're purchasing, they pay a payment on that they're in the red. But to say that the city and the people are in the red, that's just negativity. That's, first of all, it's not true, and second, we're better than that. We need to have leaders and elected officials that tell the truth and are candid. And sometimes we've made mistakes, and sometimes we've done things that fall flat on their face. But that's what happens. That's how you learn. That's how you make it better. But it's disingenuous to say that our city's in the red. Since I've been mayor, you wouldn't believe the amount of money that's all of a sudden just showed up because we've investigated and found it. It's in old accounts, or it's in bond money that's left from years ago when we paid the bond off, and then the money didn't get used. We're doing a lot of things, it's how to manage and how to lead with experience. I can look at a budget, and right away I knew what to change and what to cut and what to move around. Because the budget that I inherited from 2019, it was done last year, 2018, in the midst of all the haze and the arguments and the fights and fusses, and it was just a bad budget. So myself and others in the city government, we got together and got some of those things solved, and we're going to move forward. So
one of the other questions I have too that I wanted to talk about are the schools.
yeah,
And I've heard tell that the Portage takes money away from the schools money that the school could use. And I understand maybe you should explain it, but I'm concerned about how, and people have said that, well, the town is not investing that much in the schools, and there's controversy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion, and I think folks need to understand that Portage, the city of Portage, is not in charge of the Portage Township Schools. Portage Township Schools is its own corporation. It's its own it taxes it on its own. South Haven and Ogden Dunes and Portage and everybody in the township goes to Portage Township Schools. Unlike Hobart and Hammond, they have the school city of Hobart or the school city of Hammond, and that's ran by the city government. So the city doesn't have control over the schools. We want our schools to be safe, and we want to be a partner with the schools to do that. We want to make sure our roads are clear in the winter with snow, so children can get to school safely. Our police and fire are working diligently with the schools to make sure they're safe. And yes, we do want SROs back in our school, which is a school resource officer in a school. I want 2 back in there. I think that's the right thing to do because when there's an incident, guess who takes over? Portage takes over because it's in our jurisdiction. So
Sure.
Why wouldn't they be in the schools? And we'll get that worked out. But to answer your question about the funds that could be taken away, without getting too far in the weeds and kind of confusing everybody and boring them to tears, so when there's a blighted area, say out on Route 20, for example, there was a piece of property there called Don's Motel, and Don's Motel was demolished, and the land was cleared, and it's ready for redevelopment. So the redevelopment commission went out and purchased Don's Motel's property, demolished it, and got it ready for redevelopment. because there was one holdout in the center of a piece of the property. The property was islanded a little bit, so there was a break in between. Now that that's also been taken care of, we can redevelop and sell that entire piece of property to a business that is actually paying good taxes to everyone. So right now, that piece of property is under the jurisdiction of the TIF, which is a tax increment financing district. That's where the taxes are. The money from that area is collected and goes to the redevelopment commission. Takes a little bit from the schools because they were getting a little bit off of a piece of land. But in 2 or 3 years, when the new building's there, jobs are there, the assessed valuation of that particular piece of property is available, then the schools get an additional funds they were never going to get. So it's a win-win. So saying that we take money from schools is just one of those things that, again, is just not explained well, and I want to make sure we explain it. So I apologize if I bored you to tears, but that's I haven't seen it yet. But so that's just kind of the process that the state has us do for blighted areas, and so.
Okay, you're right. That kind of got me into the weeds there.
Yeah, it was but I had to
that's
make sure we
okay.
explain that. Yeah.
I think it's important to understand that
Yeah.
the Portage, the government is not in charge
Of the schools.
of the schools. I think
Right.
that's an important distinction. I want to go back to Portage Pride. Maybe we
Okay.
should take a break, but I want to go on with Portage
Sure.
Pride because that's something that's really
Yeah.
important to me.
Sure.
And I remember my aunt, one of my aunts, a long time ago, my uncle used to move her out to these godforsaken places. One of them was New Lenox and a long time
Yeah.
ago. And her dream, and I always thought, oh, that's an unusual dream. Her dream was to have sidewalks.
Yeah.
She said to my uncle, Phil, take me someplace with sidewalks.
Yeah.
And I like sidewalks myself. That's where I used to roller skate, ride my bike, and I was out of the street.
Sure. You were safe.
I was safe.
Yeah, yep.
I was safe, that's right.
Yeah, so we do have a difficulty in Portage. What has happened is because our city grew so fast, and the planning department wasn't even up. We didn't even have a planning department for years. So it was kind of a hodgepodge of subdivisions and neighborhoods. And what we would do is we would require the developer to put sidewalks in front of the homes that they built. And then as soon as that development stopped, or the piece of property ended, then the sidewalk ended. So we have a lot of sidewalks that just go into nowhere. It's unacceptable. It boggles my mind how we've got where we are. But my plan is a comprehensive sidewalk reconnection plan. First, we would reconnect all those sidewalks to the other sidewalk. And then we would go into from the schools out to our parks, make sure there's a way for our children to get there to a park safely from school, or home safely from school. And then eventually we want to connect retail and connect downtown and connect the lakefront to the south side of town. You should be able to go from the south side of Portage by Cardinal Crossing, in that area, by the hospital, all the way to the lakefront via a sidewalk or a trail. And that's the goal, that's the vision. So that just shows people that we have, that Portage is connected.
Well,
That
it
means
makes
we're
it more of a community if you
Absolutely.
can walk places.
That's right, absolutely, and walking is good. You can tell I need to do a little walking, but walking is good. It's healthy. It's good to get the kids outside of the house, and that's the goal. We have work to do. It's a comprehensive plan. It's going to cost money, but over 5 years we should be able to get that done, and that's the goal, and that's the vision for bringing the city together and getting that Portage Pride back and connecting all of our neighborhoods to each other.
Well, I have a question that I'd
Yeah.
like answered, and I
Sure.
was just thinking about this today.
Yeah.
I know about the wheel tax
Yeah,
that goes directly to our roads.
that's correct.
That doesn't go to trails, though, is
Yeah,
that
right.
right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Just roads?
Yep. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the wheel tax was one of those things that were